Hello, our favorite humans. Welcome to an episode of Bronx Tales with your host, Bronxy B, and me. I'm Logan. Thank you for joining us. He's probably going to move because he is hot. It is very warm today. But I do have an episode today. I do want to talk about the DNA and the experiment that the college UC Davis did that Lana found and presented last night on her live. And I do want to talk about the license plate on the car, and I also want to talk about the blood on the handrail. So I'm going to put this in layman's terms. I'm not going to add all of the details, but I am going to give the main points of what Lana presented last night from Truth and Transparency. Her channel will be linked in my description box as well. So basically, this manager of a lab at UC Davis College this year, 2025, did an experiment which was based on this case, IDAHO4, and the DNA left on the snap of the knife sheath. And he wrote this thesis, he basically wanted to find out how much it would be different or differentiate between direct transfer of DNA, meaning you just touch the object with your own hand, and secondary transfer DNA, meaning you touch something or, for instance, gave somebody a handshake, they turned around, touched the knife sheath, and how much would be left on the button snap of the knife sheath, as was found in this case with Bryan Kohberger's DNA on there. Now, I want to start by saying the amount of DNA found on the button snap of the knife sheath of Bryan Kohberger's was 0.167. So they did this thesis. It was 112 pages, I believe. They took everything into consideration, time in between doing activity from getting the DNA on your hand during the secondary transfer, as opposed to then turning around and touching it, the time in between you had without washing your hands. And they took into consideration things like the material that the button snap on the knife sheath was made of and how long it would hold the DNA or how well it would hold DNA. All types of details like that. I'm not going to get into them. I just want to give you the numbers because it is eye-opening. So in the direct transfer where somebody physically touched the button snap of the knife sheath, there was an amount that was recovered and tested, and it was 1.09 NGs of DNA was found. 1.09 was what was collected from the direct transfer, primary transfer. Now, what was collected when they did the secondary transfer, which was one person shook another person's hand, they waited some time in between, the second person turned around and touched the button snap of the knife sheath, and they got 0.197 NGs of DNA from the first person. So that person's DNA stuck to the other person's hand, and when the second person touched the button snap of the knife sheath, they transferred the first person's DNA onto the button snap of the knife sheath, and they recovered 0.197 NGs of DNA. What is so eye-opening about that is they actually recovered less of Bryan Kohberger's DNA than the secondary transfer of DNA onto the button snap of the knife sheath. Less of Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found. So we can surmise that at the very most, Bryan Kohberger's DNA got onto that knife sheath from a secondary transfer, meaning maybe he went to a store, touched the door handle of the store, and the person behind him grabbed the door handle after him, and then maybe later that day turned around and grabbed that knife and knife sheath and went and committed that crime. And that's how Bryan Kohberger's DNA got on there. That is so incredible. That was such an amazing find for Lana, and I just wanted to kind of put that out there without all the extra details because not that they're irrelevant, they're very relevant to this experiment. But as far as knowing the numbers, it's just incredible. This is incredible. Now, I want to move on to the license plate on the car. The picture that I'm posting is literally from the court documents. It's just a screenshot from the court documents. I did not edit them. I did not filter them. I didn't do anything to this picture. I also want to add in there, I own this exact same car, and so does my next door neighbor. So I know where the license plate is at on this vehicle and where it's usually at on every single one of these vehicles, because usually the mount is standard. Now I'm going to put a square around the license plate, and I'm also going to put a circle around the emblem, the Hyundai emblem. As you can see, they are both just as blurred out as one another. There is obviously an object there where the license plate would be. And on this vehicle, there's absolutely a license plate. That blurred out square down there wouldn't be there if there was nothing there. If there was no object there, there wouldn't be that shape, just like the emblem above it. This car is in motion. This picture was taken when this car was in motion. So obviously it's not going to be super clear, but I just wanted to point out that the emblem on the car is just as blurred out as where the license plate is. Now, had there been a bike rack or a luggage rack on top of the vehicle, I would assume that it would be just as blurry and pixelated looking as the license plate and the emblem. But there is absolutely 1,000% a license plate right there, or there would not even be the shape of an object right there if there was no license plate. This car 1,000% has a license plate, and that is where they sit on these vehicles. Like I said, I own this vehicle. That is where those license plates sit. So I just wanted to point out the Hyundai emblem is just as blurry as the license plate. We know there's an emblem there. It's where it's at on every single one of Hyundai's vehicles has the emblem in the same spot. There is a Hyundai emblem there, and there is absolutely a license plate down below. Something else I wanted to talk about, because my mom has been saying this to me forever, is the BLOOD on the handrail from the first floor to the second floor. I always thought there was BLOOD on the handrail down on the first floor in between the first and second floor because the door was open and a glove was found outside. I just assumed that one of the perpetrators went out the front. That's what that would look like to me. But my mom has been saying for a while now, what if one of the intruders went downstairs to unalive one of the housemates down there, but nobody was there? And that really gave me pause. I had somebody in my comments say the same thing. And although I think that it is more probable that one of the intruders went down the stairs, made the BLOOD print on the handrail, went out the front door, dropped a glove, all of that. But it is possible that one of the intruders went down the stairs and was looking for the housemates down there, and nobody was there, which would kind of add up with what a lot of people think, that DM and BF were not even there at the time. It's just some things to ponder on. I did want to definitely point out the license plate for you guys, because that is absolutely a license. It's undeniable. That is, you cannot deny that there is a license plate there. There wouldn't be the blurred little rectangle square thing right there if there was not an object right there. And I also wanted to bring you guys, just in case you didn't catch Truth and Transparency last night, I did want to bring you guys the numbers for the DNA experiment done at UC Davis. It's just incredible. And I surely hope all this stuff is being sent to Ann Taylor. I have a feeling that unfortunately Brian will probably be found guilty. I do. I think jury selection is very difficult. And I think that when there is jury selection, they don't get many people like you and I where we question things. They don't have the opportunity to really dig. They can only take the information that's given to them and Who knows if they tune out because they're tired or had a bad day, or we never know. We never know. I think the probability of there being a handful of jurors that dig into things like we do is unlikely. I do think that he will probably be found guilty, unfortunately, and I will be shocked if he doesn't. But I think it's a lack of understanding and it's a lack of knowledge of all the things we've been able to dig into since we know about it. Other than that, that's what we have for you today. My host skipped out. He's extremely hot. We just came back from the dog park. So do something nice for yourself today. Be kind, but more importantly, please be kind to your dog. Bye, guys.